Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
This is related to sustainability. So we have done a lot of work in this particular area. Polymers, plastics. What happens to these polymers, plastics, and especially what happens when they go to ocean? Because a lot of these plastics we all throw out. Okay, we all throw out, right? You people throw out plastics. Where do you throw? What happens to that plastic? You know what happens? Landfill. You are sure where it goes? You are not sure actually. Because this Pallikarna is there nearby, they used to burn plastics. So when they burn plastic, a lot of toxic chemicals come out. Sometimes they dump it also. And sometimes they go into the Coom and all that, no? It gets blocked. Sometimes cows start eating it. You have seen cows eating plastics? Yes. Yeah, so we actually don't know. So we have been working on, in a scientific way, what is happening, how the polymers, plastics interact when they go to sea, because ultimately when they get washed out from land, they go to all these rivers and then they finally end up in ocean actually. You know, different types of plastics. The common ones which we use every day, what type of plastics? People know? What are those plastics? Common, regular, used in large. The one which we use regularly every day, polythene. As polythene where? Bags, yes. And then what are the plastics? PVC, where is it? Pipes, very good. Then? What is the most common? Bottles, all these bottles. What is this bottle made of? Yeah, yours is good. Yeah, PET, polyester, right? PET bottles. These three are very common. Most of they are called, there is one name for that. Yeah, very good. They are called single-use plastics because we throw them out. Even the wrappers, you go to supermarket, they will see wrappers. Those are all polyethylenes also. Milk bags, that's also single-use plastic. We throw it out, right? And then some more straws, for example, they use it, throw it out. These are all called single-use plastic. Mostly low-density polyethylene, high-density polyethylene, then PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and then there is one more, very important, we forgot, single-use plastic. Any single-use plastic, very important one. Teflon is not single-use, we don't use it and throw every day, we don't come across every day. That way there are a lot of polymers, but single-use plastic. Anything which we throw it out, immediate use once, throw it out. Plastic cups, again polyethylenes. One more single-use plastic, very common. You people buy laptops, you people buy mobile phones every day. There is one polymer packaging. Poly? What is that? You buy a laptop and then take it out. Yeah, what is that polymer? Thermocol is a colloquial name. It's a polystyrene. That's also a very common single-use plastic. It's a very serious problem. So, polyethylenes, polystyrenes, polyvinyl chloride, polyester, PET bottles. These are all single use. Most of the one waste we come across is that. Of course, car contains lot of polymers, but they are not single use. They remain in the car for a long time. Okay, so those are not very serious. These are very serious. Polyurethane, polystyrene, polyvinyl chloride, and polyethylenes. Different types of polyethylenes. All your milk bags, linear low density polyethylene, okay, high density polyethylenes, and so on. So they remain in the atmosphere for hundreds of years. Okay, so they are sometimes consumed by animals, birds as well. I will show you some pictures of that. Okay. So most of the work, so I would like to acknowledge, because again there is a lot of collaborations with the NIOT's National Institute of Ocean Technology, right? Heard of it? Where is it located? Which signal? There are so many signals. Pallikarna. We have also written a book on that topic, actually. So, lot of polymers we use. Some of them are single use, some of them are not. But the fishermen use these nylon nets. That's also a big problem. Once it's broken, they throw it out in the ocean, and they cause a lot of problem actually, because the nylon is very strong, almost like steel. It doesn't break, and they remain inside. Okay. So, but so many polymers are used in the marine, in the boats. Okay, you can see, almost all, just like your biomaterials, a lot of polymers are used. The ship body, some of the small ship are made up of different types of material actually. Polymer composites. They use polymethyl methacrylate with glass reinforced plastic, fiber reinforced plastic. They are very, very strong. FRP, you must have heard of fiber reinforced, extremely strong, almost strong as steel. So it's polymethyl methacrylate with fibers. Like that, so many plastics, marine pipelines, ports, ropes, insulating material, dock fenders, so many polymers. So in the sea itself, you will see sometimes boats get washed out, or after an accident they will be left in the sea. So those are all big problems actually. Not only that, whatever we put it in the land, they get washed in the river and then they go reach the sea. So a lot of polymers. How does it degrade? It degrades over a long period of time because of the UV radiation from the sun, the heat. But when the plastic sinks and goes to the bottom, nothing happens to them. But if they are floating, yes, the UV helps a lot to disintegrate the polymer. But as I said, when they go down, nothing happens to them. So ideally, if it is floating, that's very good, because they can easily, because of the heat and the UV, they can disintegrate, degrade, and so on actually. Because once then the bacteria, the aerobic bacteria, you have heard of aerobic, anaerobic, right? So the aerobic bacteria can help in degrading that. But when they go underground inside the sea, the anaerobic organism, they don't destroy these plastics so easily. But the heavy ones, the polymers, go underground. That's the problem actually. Okay. There is another problem which is called microplastics. You have heard of that of late, right? Past 5 to 10 years. Because polymers which are 5 millimeter or smaller they are called microplastics. This big plastic, because of the marine ocean currents, they break. They don't degrade, but they break, disintegrate, okay, biodeteriorate, and they become smaller. They become 5 mm or less. And the fish thinks they are food. They start eating that. Okay. So sometimes when you eat fish which are taken, they may contain microplastics. Birds start taking that, thinking it's food. Actually, that's microplastic. Sometimes the water which we drink may contain these microplastics. So that has become another big problem for us actually, the microplastics, 5 mm or less, because of the winds and the sea currents, they break. Now the plastic also contains chemicals like dioctyl phthalate. You have heard of dioctyl phthalate? Have you heard of dioctyl phthalate? You have done course on plastics, polymers, little bit? Yes? You must have done somewhere, right? So they add some chemicals to make the polymer softer so that they can make bottles or they can make sheets and all that. Otherwise, if you make polymer, you can't make all this. It will be like hard, like aplam actually, it will break. But if I have to make a bag flexible, I have to add plasticizers, I have to have antioxidants so that it doesn't degrade because of sun rays. Then I had to add anti-ozonants. So many chemicals are added. Colorants also, you have different color plastics. So all these will get leached out. They are all toxic as well actually, you know. So the microplastics, when they come back in our food chain, like when we eat fish or when we take some water, these chemicals also can come back to us actually. So microplastics has nowadays become a big environmental issue, you know. Now another problem is the shipping industries. Shipping industry use a lot of plastics and the bacteria, like I talked about biofilms, then macrofoulants, like all these macrofoulants found inside the sea, like barnacles, all those also can get attached. That is called biofouling. So all these things also happen actually. Okay, these are some land plastics. Look at this. So when these plastics get washed into the river and they go to sea, and they end up, and most of the plastic finally will end up there actually. Look at this, bottles, 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 so many bottles, millions of bottles. I am sure one of the bottles must be because of me, right? Or because of all of us. So there is something called, see, look at this, this is a bird, albatross. It contains so many plastics inside because they think it's food, they eat it, and the plastic does not give the protein just like a food, so they die. You can see so many plastic particles inside, toothbrush, bottle caps, children's toys, combs, all inside these. So that is another problem. When the birds start fishing and they think these floating plastic particles as food and they start eating. Even cows, they have seen kgs of plastic wrappers, some of the Indian cows, because they eat these plastic thinking it's food. Okay, look at this degradation rate, you know, plastic bags, 10 to 20 years. High density polyethylene may take almost 100 years. Your plastic bottle, PET bottles, for 50 years, all of them longer than our own life actually, okay. So the next generation feels it actually. Marine, okay. Now this is called ghost fishing. Sometimes the nets which are found thrown out in the sea, the marine animals get caught and they die. Okay, look at this plastic cap. See, sea turtles get caught in the plastic dumped by us. This is called ghost fishing actually. So a lot of animals, sea animals die because of this ghost fishing. Marine debris. These are some pictures from American plastic. See, look at these turtles start eating these nylon based products and they get choked. These are our own, India. Ganges, Yamuna, all these actually, you know, a lot of plastic waste. Finally, when there is a monsoon, everything gets washed and they all will reach the sea. Huge waste we produce, 4.5 million tons. China, 16 million tons. This is, so 50% is our plastic bags and polyethylenes, you know, milk bags, plastic bags, all these. 50% is polyolefin because they are very, very cheap. all these plastic bags is like 20 paisa a bag, right? So much. Plastic wrappers, we go to supermarket and we get wrappers, no? We just take it, pick it up, throw it out, right? So that's a single-use plastics, and that's 2 paisa per square foot, like. Then another interesting thing that happens is something called gyre, G-Y-R-E, gyre. Lost. So there are many sea currents. These are called gyres, and the plastic waste gets caught into those gyres, and they also start moving around. So there are North Atlantic gyres, South Atlantic gyres, Pacific gyres, and so on, actually, Indian Ocean gyres. So these are sea currents which moving around, and when these plastic gets caught, tons of it, they also start moving. So one day a plastic waste thrown in America could end up in somewhere near Japan also, when you have these, when they are caught into these Pacific gyres, actually. So that is another very, very serious problem. You look into this particular website, you will see a lot about these gyres. So plastic thrown in, say, South America can end up somewhere in Africa, because if they are caught into these sea currents, huge currents, we are talking about going from America to Japan, that sort of size of gyres. So the plastic waste that can get caught up can start traveling. Okay. These are called gyres. Millions of tons of these plastics can get caught up into these type of gyres, actually. These are ocean currents, so the plastic also gets caught into those, and then they start traveling from one continent to another continent. Huge. Yeah. So these plastic that get caught up, they start disintegrating and breaking, so they become small, small pieces, and they start traveling. They can go into some other continent, they can become microplastics. All those things are possible, actually. Yeah. So in the gyres, the amount of plastic to plankton, because plankton is the food for these sea animals, fishes, right? Sometimes they are much more than the plankton. So what happens when the fish eats the planktons? They also consume a lot of these plastic small debris, actually. That's a big problem, because the fish dies. They do not get enough food. They get choked. And they get choked with toxic chemicals that are present also. So the amount of plastic waste in those gyres are much larger than the actual protein which they are supposed to consume and grow, actually. So that is another serious problem. Okay, these are microplastics. You can see the definition of a microplastic, less than 5 millimeter size. So they are so small, they look so beautiful, the color. So the animals, the birds start thinking they are food, and they start consuming them also, actually. And it's very difficult to remove it. Filtration is difficult, not so easy, because if they are in small quantity, you may have to process liters of water to remove small amount of these polymer microplastics, actually. So that is another problem when you have the microplastics that's happening. All the countries have this problem. It is not the third world, but all the countries, the coastal region, the amount of plastic waste, plastic dumped, bottles and as you can see, United Kingdom, sweet packets, crisps, sticks, lolly sticks, all these are happening. So many per 100 meters. So if you walk 100 meter of the seashore or the beaches, you will see so many pieces of these type of waste. I have one interesting, this is, let's go into Indian thing. This is Chennai. Okay, the amount of, you go, the plastic dumped, fishing nets, plastic bottles, plastic wrappers, all sorts of things. You can see in Chennai beaches also. We did a very interesting study in Chennai. We picked up sand, 100 kg of sand in all these beaches. Some of you from Chennai? Yeah, so you will remember, you will know. Marina, Besanagar, Thiruvanmayur, Neelangarai, Kovalam, okay, Injambakam, then Panayur. So all these beaches, Chennai has a long, very long coast, right? Up to Pondicherry, you have very long coast. So we picked up, say, 100 kg of sand and then tried to look at how much these amount of plastics are there. Okay, number of pieces and then weight based. Actually, you can see, of course, Neelangarai and Marina as expected, right? Lot of more amount of almost 2 to 3 grams of plastic per gram of, sorry, 2 to 3, yeah, 2 to 3 per kg of sand actually, 2 to 3 grams of plastic per kg of sand. More in these places because a lot of people go to Marina, Neelangarai also. You have been to Neelangarai? Yeah, so you see it's quite high, almost 3 grams of polymer. That's a big number. 3 grams of polymer per kg of sand. So these are the places where we took up the samples, and so more people go, more dump they do of plastics when they are in those beaches actually, and destroy, which is not removable also, because we are talking about so much of plastic in the sand itself, and as they start deteriorating, they become smaller and smaller in pieces, and it's more difficult to remove them from those beaches actually. Okay, so that's a irreplaceable type of destruction which the people of Chennai have been doing on these beaches along the coast of Chennai. So we talked about biofilms. So some of these are called some confocal images. These are some live bacteria which gives you green color. These are some red bacteria, dead cells. The type of organisms that are present in marine are much different than what we saw in our medical region. We have a lot of bacillus based organisms here actually in here, and the type of organism that attach to different polymers are also different actually. So for example, this is a picture of organisms after 12 months attached to a polypropylene type of surface. Okay, so we do, let's not go too much into these, I just want to show pictures, yeah. Then shipping industry also face a lot of problem because the ships are always in underwater. So we have not only bacteria attaching, but even barnacles. You have seen barnacles like your shell, right? So there are many organisms like that in the sea that also get attached. So bacteria, and then on top of that they are called biofouling. So they attach, as you can see in this picture. It's very difficult to remove it. You can see they need a very, very strong facility to remove that actually. Shipping industry lose lot of money because when you have all these macrofoulant attached, the speed of the ship is reduced quite a lot. So they lose a lot of money on that. So they have to do something called dry docking. That means they bring the ship into a dry place and then try to remove that. Dry docking means a lot of money wasted actually. It's like a aeroplane. If it is continuously used, they make money. If it is coming to a hangar and they are doing repair, that means they are losing money. So yeah, that sort of a situation here, dry docking. So you can see one interesting picture. This is a polycarbonate, such transparent surface. I put it in sea for 1 month, a lot of biofilm, biofouling has happened. Within a month, whole polymer gets biofouled. Yeah, here. And so when we can remove some of these biofouled, but some of them are really stuck. The barnacles produce something called a cement, which really attaches to the surface, and it's very difficult to remove. You have to use acid, hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid to actually remove the barnacle attachment. Because they form some fantastic adhesive, which are very difficult to remove. So initially, any surface, you will have some bacterial attachment, and then after that, slowly, you will be having macrofouling like barnacles, polychaetes, and so many other organisms start attaching actually on surfaces. So within a few weeks, this type of colonizers happen actually. Within a few hours, you have the bacterial biofilm start attaching. So many factors affect what type of polymers are used inside in the ocean. The type of organisms, you can have organisms in a tropical region like India when compared to a region like Europe, which is different. So type of bacteria changes a lot, also determines the type of attachment actually. The environment, for example, when we have a monsoon, there is a lot of water inflow. In the summertime, the water outflow is more, the type of bacteria changes. Salt content, if you look at the percentage salt in the ocean, some places the salt is much higher, some places is much lower. When heat is there, and summer months, there is more evaporation, so salt percentage in the sea water is much higher. So all these play an important role in the type of bacterial attachment, the type of bacterial growth, and so on actually. So we see, we have seen in summer the attachment is different, winter the attachment is different. When you have high tides, water from the sea comes into, if you have seen in NO region, high tides water will be very close, low tide water will be very low. So those times the attachment of bacteria are very different. So the polymer encounters different type of bacteria. So all these things matter. The temperature, the salinity, the pH, all these, whether it is in tropical or in European type of conditions, they matter actually. Let's not go into that. So we have done a lot of research trying to look at how bacteria interacts with different types of polymer. Type of bacteria like marine bacteria, Bacillus cereus, Bacillus subtilis, all these type of organisms. Using different instruments like Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy. This is called Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy. Looking at the polymer, how the surface chemistry changes when they are exposed to different microorganisms. Okay, and then the time, how long we run the experiments, that is months here. Sometimes they have even run years of experiments also to see their interactions. Okay, then we have looked at pre-treating the polymer. That means we heat the polymer to 120 degrees for a few hours and then see how the organisms get attached as against unpre-treated. So if you want to degrade plastic, one of our ideas is, can I put it in an oven, heat it up to 120 for some time, and then dump it with bacteria, then the organism can react better and degrade the polymer better when compared to fresh polymer actually. Okay. So when we pre-treat, what happens? When we heat the polymers, what happens? Can anybody think of? Suppose I heat it to 120 degrees for about a few hours. One is a little bit, but 120 is not a big temperature because polymers will degrade. But yes, a little bit of amorphous can become. That is one thing. If you heat it very high, then yes, lot of the can change, but I am talking 100. Toxic chemicals get released, yeah, that is another. No, I am asking one question, then I will answer that question. My question you answer. See, when you are putting it in an oven, heating to 120 with oxygen, some polymers can get oxygenated. So when you have oxygenated, if you look at LDP, HDP, all these polymers are hydrophobic. So a little bit of oxygen inserted, they become more hydrophilic. So when they become hydrophilic, then bacterial attachment is better. So that is one idea we are doing. Because a lot of oxygen, with oxygen present, it gets little oxidized. So that. Okay, so those things. So we have seen that when I pre-treat the surface with heating and oxygenated, then attachment of bacteria is better. So degradation can happen. Yeah, tell me, what is your question? Your question is? Why that is going up and down? Oh, this one? Why it's going little bit up and all that, right? That is within experimental error. Because we take a polymer sheet and then do this heating. So that sort of thing is experimental error. So we remove that using statistical. You people do any statistics? Like ANOVA, t-test? You don't do like that. What statistics you do? Anything you must be learning. Probability you might have learned. Statistics? Dispersion, that is standard deviation. Okay. Central, yeah. Okay, good. Average, mean, mode, standard deviation. Okay. So, so this will be within. Suppose I am measuring something. I do it 3 times. Yeah, I won't get the same answer. I'll get little different. So there will be some region, average will be there, some dispersion will be there, or standard deviation. Suppose I do another experiment, she does another experiment, she will not get same answer like mine, she will have also average and standard deviation. So we try to compare this and then say whether it is statistically different or not. Okay, so in this particular case, they are not too much different, they will appear, but statistically they are not very different actually. So there are many tests, maybe you will read it later. Maybe in 12th standard, no? 12th also you will not read. Statistics, you will not read. Data analysis, statistics, no. So these are some confocal images, okay, polymer attached on low density polyethylene, this is high density polyethylene surface. High density polyethylene is very hydrophobic, so attachment you can see is not as much as low density, number one. When I thermally treat, that means when I thermally heat it for a few hours, it gets more oxygenated or hydrophilic, so attachment is also more when compared to non-thermally treated. Different organisms, Bacillus cereus, Bacillus sphaericus, these are all organisms found in the marine region actually. So a lot of work we have done. Some pseudomonas species, the marine region. Okay. I will not go too much into this. And then we have measured how much weight is lost the polymer as a function of months. Like I said, we have done experiments 1 year, 2 years, like that experiments to see how the polymer degrades in the marine environment actually. Then we try to isolate the organisms from the sea and try to characterize what type of organisms are found there in the marine actually. These are called atomic force microscopy, just like scanning electron microscopy. This is also an imaging technique. There are different types of imaging techniques, SEM, then this is AFM. So this can look at surface in nanoscale, whereas scanning electron will be more 1 micron, whereas AFM can be nanomicron, less than a micron, sorry. Not bad. Lot of analysis. Interestingly, also, when I have different polymers, same organism, they produce something called biosurfactant. You have heard of surfactant, right? Some bacteria also produces surfactants. Why do they produce? So that they can attach better on surface. So different surfaces, same organism seem to be producing different amount of surfactant, so that they can attach on all types of surfaces. Some surfaces are very hydrophobic, some surfaces are, so polypropylene is very hydrophobic. So its attachment is difficult. So they produce more surfactant so they can attach. LDP, SDP, they are all more hydrophilic, so they don't produce so much surfactant. So a lot of interesting things the organisms seem to be doing in order to attach. Why do they have to attach? Because all organisms require carbon source, nitrogen source. Your polymer, for example, polyethylene, right? You know, polyethylene means ethylene, ethylene, ethylene. That's a carbon source for the organism. So in order to use that ethylene, they need to attach. In order to attach, they produce different surfactants so that they get attached easily. And polypropylene, more difficult to attach, so they produce more biosurfactant. So they are extremely intelligent in modifying themselves to address the environment in which they are. Okay, let's not go too much. These are some motion studies. So we did some studies putting polymers in near Chennai, NCERT region, okay, and try to see how these polymers behave in 1 year, 2 years, and so on. Actually, these are the places where we immersed samples. You can see, no, the polymers are kept on a big metal frame, and they are immersed in about 3 meters. 3 meters means about 9 feet or 10 feet. Now these are fishermen who are putting it, and then we take out samples after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, like that, you know. So then we look at how each polymer is fouled. This is low density polyethylene, polypropylene, high density polyethylene. We see what happens to the polymer. We see what type of organisms are sitting on the polymer. Okay, both we do. We do it after 6 months, 12 months, and so on, actually. See, these are photographs of low density polyethylene. Sorry, LCM scanning. It looks so clean and nice, and then after 6 months, look at the polymer, how it's become. The low density polyethylene. These are barnacles on the surfaces which I have attached. Like I said, it's difficult to remove that unless we put acid, sulfuric acid, like to remove that. They form very strong adhesive, which is not at all possible to remove. Polychaetes, these are bryozoans. These are polychaetes. All these are different marine organisms that get attached. And not only your barnacles, but these are other organisms also. So the weight loss in the sea as a function after 6 months, you know, 1%, 2%, like that it happens actually on different polymers. So they also depend on the I said environment, like the amount of oxygen present in the water, seawater, the pH of the seawater, temperature of the seawater, salinity of the seawater. So we tested in 2 places, Chennai port, and this is fishing place actually, where a lot of fishermen live. NCERT. Have been to NCERT? NCERT seaside, there are a lot of fishermen colonies are there. They do fishing, so a lot of small villages are there. So there dissolved, the sea water has less oxygen because they dump lot of things into the sea. Okay, so the sea, the water contains less oxygen. when compared to the sea port, that is the Chennai port. Quite a big difference. So that's one of the biggest problem. The fishermen villages really changes the water quality or water properties near those villages, because they have a lot of activities that is being done, and they dump a lot of things into the sea, which alters the water conditions with respect to salinity or dissolved oxygen and so on. I'll not go too much into this. So we also looked at modifying the polymer to see whether they get degraded faster. So we try to add some catalyst in low density polyethylene, which will help in degradation. We add starch, we mix it in starch. Nowadays we get in shops, starch blended polymers, you must have seen, right? Starch blended polymers. And then we try to see what happens to those polymers when we put it in water, when we put it in soil, when there is a lot of sun rays falling, and trying to see which type of modified polymer is good for environment. So that sort of studies also we have done quite a lot actually. These are some of them. I'm not going too much into the science part of it. I'm going more on the observation point of view. So shipping industries, as I said, also are worried quite a lot because of the attachment of these microfouling as well as macrofoulant actually. So they do a lot of paint the ship bottom. They are called anti-fouling paints. They use a lot of different types of anti-fouling paints actually. So that's a very big business. So that fouling does not take place. Fouling will always take place, but they will extend the fouling. Can they extend it for a longer period of time? That sort of studies they do actually quite a lot. We have also done whether we can have nanomaterial incorporated so that they will prevent the bacterial attachment on the ship's bottom surface. Different type of nanomaterials we have looked at, copper oxides, zinc oxides, things like that. Again, I will not go too much into that. Of course, then there are some paints which make the surface very hydrophobic. So alter the wettability. Like I mentioned long time back, the lotus leaf, they don't get wetted. Nowadays there are even shirts are coming up with hydrophobic surfaces, low wettable shirts. So you can walk in the rain and then you just shake it, all the water will go away and the shirt will be very dry. That is very super hydrophobic surfaces. So can we design surfaces in ship bottom so that they remain dry although they are still in the water actually. That's called the super hydrophobic surfaces. This is very useful in many applications actually, super hydrophobic surfaces. That means it will never wet the surface, thereby there won't be any bacterial contaminations or macrofouling contaminations and so on. Actually. So there is a lot of chemistry involved in it, how to design a super hydrophobic surface so that water does not settle down, water just goes away, trickles out. So there is a lot of chemistry, we will not go into that. So let me conclude. 80% is from land. So whatever you are dumping in the land, plastic, they get washed into the, for example in Chennai we have Adayar river, Comb river, then finally they all go to the sea. We have sea marine organisms, the birds get really affected, different type of problems, microplastic problems, macrofoulants, ghost fishing, all these are because of the plastics which we dump. Mostly single-use plastics because we use that and throw immediately, unlike engineering plastics. Single-use plastics, we are talking about polystyrene, polyethylene, low density, high density polyethylenes, and then polyesters. These are common single-use plastics. Every day we dump. Okay. Long-term plastics, there are polyurethanes and polycarbonates. They are also there actually, but they are not thrown out every day. Nylon is one polymer which the fishermen use, and they also throw it, leading to ghost fishing, leading to animals and birds dying because of their consumption. Then we have the microplastics that come because of polymer material which are less than 5 mm in size. Microplastics now starts coming back into through our food chain, coming back to us when we eat sea food, sea animals. Even in drinking water, they have seen microplastics coming into it. Another problem is these gyres, where you have ocean currents which move from, say, North Atlantic coming to Europe, or in Pacific side from the southern part of US going right up to Japan. So the polymers waste gets traveling around, huge, whirlpool like actually. So those are again problems leading to that. Shipping industries face quite a lot of problem because of micro and macro foulant actually. Most of the plastics don't degrade so easily. Mostly if they have to degrade because of UV and solar and wind currents, but if the polymer goes underwater, sinks, there is nothing for them to get destroyed at all. You have only anaerobic microorganisms which don't destroy, whereas you need aerobic conditions for degrading polymers. Okay. So nowadays in sustainability goal, they are talking quite a lot of this. You must have heard of this, right? Reuse, recycle, recover, replace. So can we replace with biodegradable plastics? Okay, can I replace with some other material? Can I recover all these polymers? It's very difficult to recover microplastics because we are talking very, very small size and very less percentage. So recover is very difficult, especially when they go to marine. But recover when we are using it is much easier. But once it goes away into the open, like beaches or in rivers, it's very difficult actually. Can we reuse? Can we recycle? A lot of technologies are trying to come up. Can they recover the monomers? Can they recover energy out of it and all that? But still, it's a long way off. Can we pre-treat the polymer so they get degraded? Can we make the surface more hydrophilic? Can we have new organisms which they degrade particular type of polymer? Can I use biodegradable polymers? All these are research areas where there is a lot of scope for somebody to work on for some time to come. But they are very important sustainable goals which we all have to consider to make our planet in a good state, not in a bad state when we leave actually. Okay? Thanks for your time. Any questions you have? I'll stop with this.
Why is oxygenation also?
Yeah, when you have high oxygen, when you have surface becomes hydrophilic. Most of these organisms, hydrophilic marine organisms, get attached on a hydrophilic surface better than a hydrophobic surface. So when after first step is organism attaching to the polymers, then only degradation can happen. So we are trying to speed up the attachment or favor the attachment.
Sir, why does oxygenation cause hydrophilicity?
Oxygen is a hydrophilic polymer when compared to hydrocarbon like methane, ethane. Okay, alcohol, oxygen-based compounds are more hydrophilic. The O group, oxygen O group is there, no? That's more hydrophilic. Just like water, you have water, hexane, only carbon, carbon, carbon. Hexane is C6H6. That's very, very hydrophobic. Water is more hydrophilic.
I read somewhere that a new bacteria was found that is able to completely degrade plastic. I'm
Yeah,
unable to.
there is lot of research, but there is no final solution in the sense how they will work in the environment. In the lab, they work differently. But when I put it in open space, how they will interact in the presence of other bacteria, all those things need to be studied.
So the current bacteria are able to degrade plastics only to microplastic level.
Current bacteria can degrade up to some level. I showed you some things like you can get about 3% to 12% in 1 year. Percent weight loss in 1 year. That is for low density polyethylene. If you are going for very polypropylene like or HDP, high density polyethylene, the degradation is much lower.
So is it possible to genetically modify the discovered bacteria?
Genetically we can modify, but then if I throw that bacteria in the open, what it will do to other bacteria? We don't know, right? We may be creating a monster. Because bacteria we need. Without bacteria we cannot survive. If this bacteria starts killing other bacteria or doing harm, what will happen to environment? We don't know. That is very scary, right? So genetic modification in closed environment is okay, but open environment it's not okay. Any other question? If there are no questions, we will stop with this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful lecture. It was an extremely interesting and valuable lecture, sir. I am sure each and every one of us will look into the topics that you told us. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule and giving us this lecture. And I will also like to extend my gratitude for RSIC management for providing this opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.